I'm not into horror. Like, at all. Or at least that's what I thought. Other than the fact that ever since I was a little kid, I've been obsessed with anything involving eerie, creepy, or spooky stuff. My favorite holiday was Halloween, after all. But I also grew up very much admiring the art of horror, all kinds of horror, as well as also realizing that I'm actually into a specific type of horror. One that involves the psychological character studies as well as anything that involved dichotomies. For all that I can remember, for some reason, something just allured me to horror stories that started off as this cute, unsuspecting thing and actually ended up being the most depressing or terrifying thing you could think of. And I think nothing else expresses this kind of dichotomy in horror better than Doki Doki Literature Club, my favorite horror indie video game ever. And I'm talking ever. I love this game more than mouthwashing, more than Dead Plate, even more than that niche, not very mainstream game, you've probably heard of it, called Five Nights at Freddy's. Even growing up with Five Nights at Freddy's, somehow Doki Doki Literature Club still outreigns that by a mile. And thankfully I'm not the only one who loves this game. With other games like Yandere Simulator and your boyfriend having their fair share of controversies with their character archetype being the focal point of the game, that being the Yandere character archetype, as well as facing controversies for other reasons, it's relieving to know that Doki Doki Literature Club is one of those games that's universally praised, not just by those in the fandom, but those outside the fandom that just happen to play the game. Even though over the years I will fixate on my other hyperfixations, there's just something about Doki Doki Literature Club that will always have a special place in my heart. A game that I will always keep coming back to and drawing and fixating on, even for just a short bit. And speaking of that fixation coming back for a short bit, I remember around last year, in one of my older sketchbooks, I actually made a sketch sheet of all the designs plus headcanons that I wanted to make for the Doki Doki Literature Club girls. Sort of as like not a redesign, but more of a reimagining plus headcanons, like in an alternate universe where they were just best friends and there was no cosmic or existential horror in it, or there's no boy to quote-unquote fight over. They're just all four girls in high school that are just chilling and having fun, and they become friends and inevitably date each other. But those sketches were... yikes! Yikes! But still, I knew from the second I sketched them that I wanted to find a way to digitalize them somehow. I wanted to make their designs realized and post it on my social media. But then that year passed, and I didn't do anything with it. Until a few weeks ago, when I saw a YouTuber called Inkyo, and by the way, I love Inkyo so much, I watch like so many of their My Little Pony videos, they rock, love them, but I realized that they actually were doing redesigns of the DDLC girls, because unaware of my knowledge, they actually did redesigns of DDLC like 2 years ago, and I only found that out when I watched their redesign video. It was really funny. What was even more funny is that though the Inkyo video of the redesigns is what actually got me into hyperfixating over DDLC again, and also binge watching a bunch of other redesigns that other creators have had, that was not what directly inspired me to actually redesigning my old designs from a year ago. It was actually spite, funny enough. You see, a few days ago, while I was scrolling on TikTok while I was talking to my boyfriend, I saw, you know those couple posts where it's like this random image of like a girl or a guy, or it's like literally a picture of anything, and it's just supposed to be like a reaction photo, and blasted onto it is a caption that's like supposed to be a kinky or lovey-dovey quote. You know, you're supposed to send it to your boyfriend, essentially. I'll put a few pictures of it on here to show what I'm talking about. Well, one day I saw that with a picture, wait for it, of Yuri from DDLC. Now, is it silly to be upset over seeing this post? Maybe. To be fair, I knew that the creator who made these posts probably had no idea who this character was or what her context was, so they were just using a random anime picture, as a bunch of other creators do, just to make a kinky post. But that's the thing that pissed me off. It was the lack of knowledge used for this particular character. I would have been fine if it was any other anime character, but I don't know what it was. I think it's because of how Yuri is seen as the most sexualized in the, like, not the game, but I guess in the fandom, or like it's kind of played for jokes that she's the most sexualized in the game because they make a comment about her tits being so big. Oh my gosh, I'm not helping my case here. But it's also the fact that she actually has a lot of issues dealing with self-harm, trigger warning, dealing with self-harm and how that gives her certain kinds of gratification. So seeing a character who deals with self-harm and certain kinds of gratification because of it being put on a kinky post as a way to add on to the sexualization of character pissed me off. So here we are. Okay, listen, they say spite is the best motivation, okay? I don't know who exactly says that, but just trust my sources, bro. Just trust. Now, without further ado, hi, Yart here. Yes, this is a voice reveal. I've had a social media presence since 2019, and this is the first time I'm actually sharing my voice when I am not a minor. Honestly, best move. And with all that yapping out of the way, let's finally get to these redesigns. The first thing I wanted to consider when doing these redesigns for the girls was give each of them a distinct aesthetic based on the fashion subcultures, specifically in Japan. The reason why I wanted to do this was not only to make the characters more distinct from one another, but to also give them cute alternative outfits and extra care to those outfits when they're out of their uniforms. I also found it as a good way to lead into a bit of each of their personalities. For example, for Sayori, the character trope that she is described in the game as is the Genki girl. She's lively, she's bubbly, she's cheerful, but she also has a lot of self-worth issues. Meanwhile, the Gyaro style is also based on women that are very happy and joyful to be themselves, but it also takes a lot of self-confidence for them to be themselves because they are actively beating Japanese beauty standards. Their style is perceived as bold, usually taking inspiration from animals with their animal prints, as well as very over-excessive with their accessories. My headcanon with Sayori is that she absolutely loves these accessories as well. Bows, ribbons, and stickers. Not only is she usually late to school because she ends up sleeping in or has a hard time with her clothes, but she also ends up having to fuss over what stickers or accessories to wear in the morning, leaving her to neglect properly dressing herself, which makes her seem more messy when she goes to school compared to when she goes out with her friends. She also likes making these accessories. One of these accessories that she's super proud of and that she never takes off is this headband with 2 bows on it. And yes, this headband is what I replaced her canon bow with in the game, because I felt like 3 out of the 4 girls already have some kind of bow in their hair, so I wanted to add a little more diversity there, especially because Monika's bow is more iconic, so I wanted to keep that, while giving Sayori something more special and something more original. And I feel like she would use this hobby not only for herself but for her friends, because it's just one of those things that makes her happy. Just the small little things, you know? Small little things to pack in your bottle. If you know, you know. As another way to add to the Gyaro style, I also gave her these blue fake extended eyelashes to make her makeup a little more bold. Also, instead of her pink straight hair that she has in the game, I kept her hair short, but I made her a full ginger and also gave her full curly hair. Another special thing that I wanted to add on for each of the girls was giving them a distinct color palette, ranging from 2 to 3 colors for each of them. For Sayori, it's blue and yellow. Obviously, giving her the blue to make her eyes that are already blue in the game pop out even more. But for the yellow, I wanted to make it be like her favorite color. Like, she loves yellow because it's so sunshiny and it's so joyful, just like her. Meanwhile, in contrast, blue signifies sadness and depression, as we all know. Oddly enough, also like her. Her biggest issue in the game is that while she tries to make everyone perceive her as someone who is joyful and happy and bubbly all the time, she's also someone that struggles deeply with depression. She's constantly in battle with her happy thoughts that she manifests in the bottles that she writes about, as well as her active depression that actually gives her suicidal thoughts. I did also want to give a distinct color palette to the uniforms all the girls wear in their school, giving them brown and blue as the main color palette instead of adding random colors like pink and orange. Extra headcanons that I added to her include her having freckles, her having braces, since I aged them all down to 15 years old, and I feel like she would work really well with braces, oddly enough. I also like giving characters I redesign a more animal characteristic, so for her, she's golden retriever coded, and as an extension to that, really likes Pom Pom Puddin from the Sanrio cast. Like, I'm talking, this ADHD girl has a huge hyperfixation over this yellow dog. Final bits of her headcanons is that she is pansexual and has a big, fat, and I mean fat with a PH, crush on Monika. Unfortunately, girl thinks it's unrequited. For now. Now, with all those headcanons out of the way, here is her final design. Look at her, isn't she so cute? I actually had a lot more fun designing her than I thought I would, honestly. Cat ear shaped pigtails. I'm a fucking genius. I knew immediately off the bat that I wanted to make Natsuki cat-coded. She has the kitty cupcake, she's referred to as the tsundere, so she is given a lot of cat stereotypes. I also knew that I wanted to make her hair very pointy and distinguished, but I had no idea how to do that and add a little bit of that extra flair that I usually add to my hair. But then I thought, oh my god, cat pigtails. Like the pigtails that she canonically has in the game, but like shaped like cat ears and moving like cat ears. Peak character design. I don't care. This is peak character design. For Natsuki, I always had this idea of keeping her very tomboyish with her attire. But when it came down to her alternative outfit, I had a bit of debate over what I wanted to do, but then decided that doing the kawaii girl mixed in with the e-girl aesthetic was probably the best bet. And honestly, I'm a huge fan of this contrast. Part of Natsuki's character is that even though she tries to seem tough and hard-edged in front of everyone, she's actually a girly girl softie. And I feel like at school she would have her guard up anyway, considering she would probably get into a lot of fights thanks to her hard-edged personality. But when she's hanging out with her friends outside of school, she feels more safe to be her actual self. Yet, oddly enough, whatever outfit she's wearing, you could always see her with some kind of bandage or bruise on her. Gee, I wonder why. I will admit, when I first got into Doki Doki Literature Club, I wasn't a big fan of the other girls as much as I was a fan of Monika. We'll get into that later. It was even to a point where Sayori and Natsuki were actually my least favorite characters in the game. And with me being young and immature, I took their personalities at face value and saw them as annoying as a result. But as I got older and as I got to actually understand the game and what their character tropes were trying to comment on, I found myself actually having a sweet spot for every single one of the main girls. It was so odd because even though I used to only primarily fixate and relate to Monika, I found myself personally relating and fixating on all four of the girls. For various reasons, I actually found myself seeing myself in these girls. For Sayori, it was that disdain for other people worrying about me, wanting to be happy for them and always try to take care of them, and feeling deeply and utterly upset when they try to return the favor. And with Natsuki, it's a bit more of a personal reason, but essentially I also grew up in an unsafe environment that did have a bit of abuse involved. I also don't have the greatest relationship with my father or most of the people in my family, and it's gone to the point where I had to isolate myself, my interests, a huge part of who I was, just so I could be safe in that environment. And that projected onto me having to have that same mindset, thinking I have to always hide my interests in front of other people. That, and also having to hide my fixation on anime when I was younger, and still kinda do to this day, because I'm scared of being judged for it. Gosh, lore dump aside, I love Natsuki so much, and designing her was just as fun as designing Sayori. Some extra headcanons for her is that the ribbons that she wears in her hair, she also ties around her collar in her school. Her main color palette is actually pink and red. I actually added the red into her eyes instead of for a regular pink. I think that she's also very athletic, so she'll find herself outside a lot, which is why she's actually tanner than the regular Joe in her school. Hehe, a little detail is that she likes wearing platform boots outside of school to make herself seem a little bit taller. And her favorite musical genre is actually punk music. Under her cute cardigan, you can see like a little punk band on the shirt. She is also a lesbian, she is a girl kisser, and is actually the first to get into a relationship out of the 4 girls getting into a relationship with Yuri. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Natsuki. Which means her design is finished! I love the little detail that I added with her fangs and the leg warmers. She looks adorable. Very much cat, very much cat. There's a lot of debate going on if Yuri is seen as a kudere or a dandere. Both stereotypes seen as socially inept, quiet, kind of cold on the surface, extremely generally shy, but as soon as you get to know them, they're actually very friendly and very kind. Or personality, I think, is what Yuri is stereotypically. Autistic, that's what. Girl is the autistic representation I needed at the ripe age of 12, and I didn't even fucking know it. Like I said before, with me not being the biggest fan of some of these girls when I first started getting into DDLC, I was also not the biggest fan of Yuri. I'm still kind of not. I kinda used to just roll my eyes at how the fandom used to thirst over her, at least from what I've seen personally. I did have a lot of sympathy for the story that she had to go through in Act 2, and I did appreciate the lore that was added for the Project of Markov, which is Yuri's favorite horror book in the game. But I don't know, just me personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of her. But I still have this sense of protectiveness over her, and I do actually relate to her autistic coded tendencies. Like, I very much appreciated how she's depicted as antisocial, but also someone who gets very passionate about the things she's interested in. When the typical shy book nerd would get into an intense ramble about one of the things she's interested in, and then stops herself immediately and apologizes for going on about this thing, I would stop and go, oh, I do that. Oops.
I do that.
Anyways, let's actually get to the aspects of Yuri's design. When it came to her distinct aesthetic, I instantly looked at her and went, you know what? Lolita Goth. My headcanon is that she is very much a goth girly. With her being into horror, I headcanon that she's most likely into anything that's spooky or paranormal as well, which also gives nice contrast to her character, because if you look at her at first glance, you don't think that she would be into something so scary. If you guys also couldn't tell, I also changed her body type. She is still the tallest out of the 4 girls, but I made her more rounder and more chunkier, just to hit you with that sweet, soft appearance that is juxtaposed by her interests. I also gave her this choker, as you can see, that I'm planning to add an eye onto to reflect her favorite book, Project of Markov, but I also gave her these 2 pink hair clips adorned to her by a certain pink-haired girl in the group. If you can't tell, Yuri is meant to be purple, pink, and black. If you had talked to her before she met Natsuki, she would have just been purple and black, but I feel like the influence of Natsuki in her life would have let her add that pink touch to her. I would also later on end up putting pink in her eyes. A lot of common complaints when it comes to redesigning the main 4 girls of DDLC is that 2 out of the 4 girls had eye colors the exact same color as their hair, and honestly, me personally, I was also annoyed by that, so I tried to add diversity in eye color with Natsuki and Yuri, so instead of Yuri having purple eyes, she will then have pink eyes. Is having pink eyes or red eyes accurate to real life? No. Do I care? Also no. These are my designs and I get to do what I want. Speaking of adding things to eyes, as you can see, I also added these chronic, consistent eye bags. Because, like, girl's tired. Girl's so tired. I feel like having her eyes also sunken in a bit will make her more resemble the animal characteristic I assigned to her, which is the raccoon. And yes, obviously I gave her the raccoon. She literally had an entire poem where she projected onto a fictional raccoon. She is also another committed girl kisser, and believe it or not, is the one that actually initiated a relationship with Natsuki. Anyways, I think that's all I have left to say about Yuri, so that completes her design. Ugh, I have such a soft spot for edgy purple-haired girls. Oh, Monika. Monika. Where do I even begin with her? Oh, just letting you guys know before we actually talk about the redesign aspects, somehow I messed up on the formatting part of this redesign. The redesign itself is fine, but apparently I made her look too big, which made the line art look fuzzy, and also at the end, when I'm listing off the headcanons on the side, I tried to write Dark Academia, but just ended up writing Dark? And I also forgot to add the coded when I'm talking about which animal she's supposed to be associated with. So if you see that, nuh-uh. No, you didn't. Okay. Oddly enough, when it came to Monika's distinct aesthetic, I found it the most difficult to find something fitting for her, as well as found it a bit difficult to add other headcanons onto her, which I pretty much think is common in the DDLC fandom when redesigning Monika, because if we're being perfectly honest, there isn't much to improve on. Her design does a good deal of showcasing how she desperately wants you to perceive her as this perfect girl, but also gives little clues and little hints as to how she is very different from the other girls. From her different colored tights to her different colored shoes. All in all, it just felt like there wasn't much to already improve on. But damn it if I wasn't determined to add as much care to her redesign as I did to the other girls. 'Cause can I talk about it yet? I'm gonna talk about it. The way Monika had me in her clutches at 12 years old, man. I am not ashamed to admit I had a yandere phase, and this girl was on the front of my mind through this yandere phase. Oh boy. The chokehold she had on me back in the olden days was astronomical. So obviously I gotta give 12-year-old me a little sense of justice and give this redesign as much care and thought as possible. So what are some of the things that I did to change up her design? As you probably already witnessed, I tanned her skin. I actually gave her glasses that I headcanon she wears outside of school as a way to save her perfect girl persona in school. I also gave her a change of her school uniform, so instead of the bow, she wears a tie, instead of skirt, she wears pants, and she also adorns a cute little top student badge. I also liked how her canon design alluded to how she was trying to blend in while secretly standing out, which made me think of the idea that her animal association would probably be wolf in sheep's clothing. I know that's technically two animals and that's technically a metaphor, but it connects thematically, okay? I also immediately thought that I wanted to make her Dark Academia because, well, duh. But then I thought that didn't really personally connect to any Japanese subculture fashion, so I did some research, and apparently there was something called otomeke, which is a substyle of Lolita fashion in Japan. That's also referred to as an office lady style fashion, which I feel very much matches Monika's style. So as a result, I just ended up mixing the two aesthetics. Her color palette is obviously green and brown. She is bisexual, yeah, projection on your favorite character, stand up. Is a book nerd who loves music, and has conflicted feelings over her vice president and her own club, but that's probably an issue for another time. And that makes the complete design of my baby girl! Oh my god, my inner preteen is screaming right now. She's so pretty! Gosh, finally, after working on this for about a month, they're all finally done! I honestly had so much fun drawing each and every one of them, and you know what? I'm gonna have even more fun in the future drawing fan art of them. But for now, obviously, these girls and myself can finally rest. Sorry, by the way, if you've noticed the quality changes in my audio as I'm recording this. I have a pretty crappy mic, let's just say that. Also, if you wanna comment, like, or subscribe, that would be pretty cool. This is pretty indulgent though, so I don't really expect you guys to really care. So, yeah, I think I said everything I wanted to say. Have a great day/night wherever you're watching this. Live, laugh, love, and until next time, your art out.